We move on now to ECU and head coach Mike Houston. The Pirates are 3-7 overall, 0-6 in the American Athletic Conference. ECU was in action this past Saturday at SMU. SMU won the game 59-51. ECU is idle this week. Their next game will be that November 23rd date at UConn. And as we mentioned at the top of the call, Tyler Snead from ECU is the American's Offensive Player of the Week. Coach, thank you for joining us on the call today. We'll just get your thoughts on the game at SMU, maybe a few words about Tyler's performance and that of the offense, and your plans for the open week as you get ready to face UConn on the 23rd.
Well, obviously disappointed not to get the win down at SMU this weekend. They've had a great year so far, and obviously they're one of the better teams in our conference and one of the better teams in the country. And there's a reason why. Very explosive football team. Really continue to be pleased with the progress that our kids are making. It's 2 weeks in a row that we've went to the wire with a nationally ranked opponent. We just got to get over that hump and be able to finish those games off. Pleased with the offensive output this week. I thought Tyler, is one of those things where, the plays were there to be made, and he made them. And he's improved and, been a solid guy all season long, and he just continues to develop. And I think being a first year starter, being a guy who played 4 games last year, so really hadn't played much coming into this year. Really pleased with his progression up to this point. And the award's nice and all. I promise you, he'd rather have the win. So he's a team guy and an important part of our program.
We'll take questions for Coach Mike Houston, please. Star 1 on your telephone keypad will put you in the queue.
First question comes from Stephen Eagle from 24/7 Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Holton and the receivers have gotten a lot of recognition for the last few offensive performances, but can you talk about the progression of the offensive line, dealing with some injuries there, and how much they've helped kind of solidify the offense too?
Well, I think that's the real key to everything the past several weeks has been their continued progression. And you've had some issues. We've had some guys out of the lineup, and you've had some guys step in and perform very, very well. And I think that that just shows you all the work that group and Coach Shankweiler and the other guys have put into developing our line this year. And the great thing is you have Brandon Pena is the lone senior there in that group. The rest of the group's back next year too. So it's a young group, but a group that's I'm really pleased with how far they have come this year.
And specifically, with Henderson at right tackle as a redshirt freshman, he's kind of played the majority of the snaps there the last few weeks. What have you seen from him kind of getting his first couple of starts and everything?
Well, I think that Noah's a guy that, the difference between him back in the spring and him right now is night and day, and he's worked very, very hard to develop his body. He's another guy that's, every experience is, pretty much something new for him because he hadn't played until this year. And I think you see now just a guy that's, he's comfortable, the scheme, he's feeling confidence, in the way he's playing. And so he's having some success there. And that's, he's going to continue to improve each week that he steps on the field, as long as he keeps doing things right.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Next question comes from Ronnie Woodward from Greenville Daily Reflector. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, kind of going on that somewhat, and you talked about it. Some of the stats and numbers and stuff are just kind of crazy the last 2 weeks. 94 points, for your team, but 0 wins. Is that kind of a tough thing to deal with or hear, or, is it kind of where the team's at, or, the offense versus defense type thing right now? There's so much good on offense. Score that many points is kind of rare in losses, obviously.
Right. Well, certainly, our coaches, our players, everyone wants to get the wins. That's the key to the whole thing. And offense, defense, it's a team thing. Everything's a team thing. It's all three phases have to work together. That's one thing that we've made tremendous strides with, is unifying our locker room and unifying the guys on our roster, and they've done a great job with constantly supporting each other. Certainly, we're kind of, everybody's kind of hit their groove and functioning, at a pretty high level there offensively the last couple of weeks, and that's been something that's, it's taken a while to develop. But I think, with that group, each play that they play together, they become more comfortable with each other, and so I think you're probably going to continue to see them improve. But at the end of the day, the goal of the whole thing is to win football games, and that's something we've got to continue working towards. Getting over that hump, and try to turn these, real close performances against tough competition, turn them into games, where we get the win in the end.
And obviously, with the bye week, is it something where that's a focus where you just kind of want to keep the confidence going, especially on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, to kind of keep it rolling in some way into the last two games? And I imagine the players are probably naturally feeling that right now still.
Yeah, I think the bye coming where it is, it's you got to be careful a little bit. Obviously, it gives us a chance to recharge a little bit. Get some guys healed up. Get some guys some work. So you got to make sure that you do enough to stay sharp, but at the same time, you got to make sure you take care of their bodies. We want to be full strength, really fresh, and really functioning at a high level going into these last two games of the year. And starting with a tough road game at UConn. So, this week will be a little bit of everything along those lines to help our roster, be ready to go next Sunday.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Next question comes from Dan Tortora from wakeupcalldt.com. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Just to speak on, I know I've asked you about Holton in the past, but coming off this game, I know you said the team would rather have a victory, but 498 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks in the game. Just how you've seen him grown and expand, and obviously offensively, what he's been able to do to lead.
Well, I think he's improved drastically throughout the year, and I think that you're seeing him make better decisions. I think he has found a comfort level with the offense, and he's anytime you have confidence in what you're doing, you're going to play better. And I think that's what you're seeing from him. He's always been a determined guy, a great competitor, and cares very much about trying to do his part to help our team be successful. I think that you're seeing just that whole group play better together because of continuity, the scheme, being comfortable with the scheme, and the confidence factor.
And then as far as Tyler Snead, obviously there's been guys in the past that have come through East Carolina like Justin Hardy and Zay Jones and whatnot. Snead had 19 catches, most for the FBS in a single game this season. Just what you could say about, passing the torch. I know I've asked you about the receivers before, and just maybe what Snead's doing to lead the way at this point.
Right. Well, we had C.J. Johnson had a big game against Cincinnati. Tyler had a big game against SMU. I think it's just that group of offensive skill players playing at a very high level. And Tyler's a guy that, you loved from the first day I met him back last spring, winter, and start to be around him. You love his competitive nature. You love the way he goes out every day with a great work ethic, and he has some natural confidence in himself. He may not be the biggest guy in the world, but he makes himself play much bigger than his stature. And I love the way he competes. And so, he had a great day on Saturday, but just, what I said earlier, he'd rather have a win than any kind of award or stat or anything like that.
Well, thank you, Coach, and good luck moving forward. Hopefully, getting that victory here in the conference.
Thanks a lot.
Take one final question.
Next question comes from Tom Shanahan from News and Observer. Please go ahead.
Hi, Coach. You mentioned earlier about Tyler only playing in 4 games, but he made quite an impact in those 4 games. I wonder if you could go back to when you were taking over the program and sizing up the roster, and you saw what he did, and then when you met him and saw how small he was, what your reaction was.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's been some slot receivers in this sport that have been highly successful in the past. Whether it's a Wes Welker or somebody like that. When I got here, the one thing that people kept talking about him is just his toughness and being reliable, and you see it in everything he does. He's a guy that takes accountability for his performance. So certainly, we expected him to be, an important part of our offense going into the season. And I'm very, very pleased with his development from the beginning of the season till now.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach, thanks so much for your time today. We look forward to hearing from you once again next Monday.
Thanks a lot.